Welcome back to Java Internals Crashcasts. I'm Sheila, and with me as always is Victor. Today we're continuing our journey through the fundamentals of concurrency, specifically focusing on executors and thread pools. In our last episode, we talked about thread pool executor, and now we're moving on to a specialized executor, the scheduled executor service. Victor, before we dive in, I have a quiz question for our listeners. What's the difference between scheduling a task with a fixed rate and scheduling it with a fixed delay?
That's an excellent question, Sheila. It's a subtle but important distinction that many developers might overlook. I'm excited to hear what our listeners think about this. Without giving away the answer, I'll just say that it relates to how tasks are scheduled in relation to each other, and it can have significant implications for long-running applications. Let's give our listeners some time to ponder this while we introduce the topic.
Absolutely. So, Victor, can you give us a brief overview of what Scheduled Executor Service is and why it was introduced?
Certainly, Scheduled Executor Service is a tool introduced in Java 5 to help manage tasks that need to run after a delay or at regular intervals. Think of it as a sophisticated alarm clock for your tasks, allowing you to set them up to run at specific times or intervals. It's more powerful and flexible than the older timer class, which it was designed to replace.
That's a great analogy. So it's like setting up recurring reminders or delayed notifications in a task management app. Can you tell us about some common use cases for Scheduled Executor Service?
Absolutely. Some common use cases include 1. Running maintenance tasks at regular intervals, like cleaning up temporary files every hour. 2. Implementing retry mechanisms for network operations that get more spaced out over time. 3. Scheduling periodic health checks in a distributed system. 4. Delaying the execution of a task, such as sending a reminder email 24 hours after a user signs up. These are just a few examples, but the possibilities are quite extensive.
Those are really practical examples. Now, let's talk about the key methods of Scheduled Executor Service. I believe there are 3 main scheduling methods, right?
That's correct, Sheila. The 3 main scheduling methods are 1. Schedule, which runs a task once after a specified delay. 2. Schedule at fixed rate, which repeatedly runs a task at a fixed time interval. And 3. Schedule with fixed delay, which repeatedly runs a task with a fixed delay between the end of one execution and the start of the next. Each of these methods serves a different purpose in terms of how and when tasks are executed.
I see. So the schedule method is for one-time delayed execution, while the other 2 are for recurring tasks. Can you explain the difference between schedule at fixed rate and schedule with fixed delay?
Excellent question, Sheila. This actually relates to our quiz question from earlier. With schedule at fixed rate, the executor tries to run the task every set time period, regardless of how long the task takes to execute. If a task takes longer than the specified period, subsequent executions may start late, but they won't overlap. On the other hand, schedule with fixed delay waits for the specified delay after the completion of one execution before starting the next. This means the time between the start of each execution will be the task's execution time plus the specified delay. The choice between these 2 can significantly impact your application's behavior, especially for long-running or time-sensitive tasks.
That's a crucial distinction. It sounds like schedule at fixed rate could lead to task build-up if not used carefully. Are there any best practices or common pitfalls to avoid when using Scheduled Executor Service?
Absolutely, Sheila. Here are a few important points to keep in mind. 1. Always use try-catch blocks inside your scheduled tasks. Uncaught exceptions will silently cancel future executions of the task. 2. Be cautious with schedule at fixed rate for tasks that might take longer than the specified period. As you mentioned, it could lead to task build-up. 3. Consider using schedule with fixed delay for tasks where consistent spacing between executions is more important than a fixed execution rate. 4. Remember to shut down your scheduled executor service properly when it's no longer needed to avoid resource leaks. 5. Be aware of the potential for task starvation if you have a mix of short and long-running tasks on the same executor. A common pitfall is assuming that tasks will always run exactly at their scheduled time. In reality, there might be slight delays due to thread scheduling or other system activities.
Those are great tips, Victor. Now, let's talk about how Scheduled Executor Service is implemented. I understand it's typically backed by a thread pool, similar to other executor services. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right, Sheila. Scheduled Executor Service is typically implemented by a class called Scheduled Thread Pool Executor, which builds on the thread pool executor we discussed in our last episode. This means it benefits from the same thread pooling mechanism, allowing it to reuse threads for multiple tasks. The implementation uses a special kind of queue to store the scheduled tasks, ordering them based on when they need to run next. This ensures that the executor can efficiently determine which task to run next. One interesting implementation detail is the use of a special delayed work queue, which is designed to handle the timed waiting and execution of scheduled tasks efficiently.
That's fascinating. It sounds like a lot of thought went into making this implementation efficient. How does Scheduled Executor Service compare to the older Timer and TimerTask classes?
Great question. Scheduled Executor Service offers several advantages over Timer and TimerTask. 1. It can use multiple threads, while Timer uses only a single thread for all tasks. 2. It handles exceptions gracefully, allowing other tasks to continue even if one task fails. 3. It provides more flexible scheduling options and can work with different types of tasks. 4. It's easier to cancel individual tasks or shut down the entire executor. For these reasons, Scheduled Executor Service is generally preferred in modern Java applications, especially those dealing with concurrency and multi-threading.
That's a compelling list of advantages. Before we wrap up, let's reveal the answer to our quiz question. The difference between scheduling a task with a fixed rate and a fixed delay is that fixed rate attempts to maintain a consistent execution frequency regardless of task duration, while fixed delay ensures a consistent gap between task completions. Did I get that right, Victor?
That's spot on, Sheila. You've summarized it perfectly. This distinction is crucial for developers to understand when choosing between schedule at fixed rate and schedule with fixed delay.
Great. To summarize today's episode, 1. Scheduled Executor Service is a powerful tool for scheduling tasks to run after a delay or periodically. 2. It offers 3 main scheduling methods: schedule, schedule at fixed rate, and schedule with fixed delay. 3. It's implemented using a thread pool and a special queue for efficient task management. 4. Scheduled Executor Service offers significant advantages over the older Timer and TimerTask classes. 5. When using it, be mindful of exception handling, proper shutdown, and choosing the right scheduling method for your needs. In our next episode, we'll be moving on to futures and callables, which work hand in hand with executors. Don't forget to subscribe to Java Internals Crashcasts and leave us a rating if you're enjoying the series. Until next time, happy coding.